please kindly give us a little introduction of yourself and your associations.
My name is Dr. Femi Egbeshola. I am the National President, Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, whose acronym is ASBON. ASBON caters for the business needs and information of people who are in small business. We categorize people in small business as those whose running capital or working capital is from 50 million and below, aside their assets and machineries. Meaning that aside from your building, your assets, your machinery, if your working capital is from 50 million and below, you are regarded as a small business owner. So we serve as an umbrella body for those who are in small business. We provide them with business information. We do advocacy services for them. We provide linkages and networking services for them. We provide market access, fund access, and many other business services for those who are in small business.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So, straight to the question. So, why do you think it has been difficult, or it has seemed impossible for Nigerian banks to give out single-digit loans that business people, especially people within your association, can find easy to pay back?
Okay, you're talking of why banks don't give out single-digit loans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think it's more of policy and regulation from government. We cannot really blame the banks. The reason for this is that it is the CBN that gives out the benchmark for lending. So the CBN is giving out the benchmark of like 16 to 18% for lending. You cannot expect a bank to now come and do otherwise. So that means that the buck stops on the table of government. Government needs to really know that for the economy to grow, they need to grow small businesses. And if they must grow small businesses, one of the key ways of growing small business is providing them access to funding. And such funding must be cheap, as low as single digits. So if that is recognized, the government, through the office of the CBN, needs to now regulate and make policy for banks to be able to borrow out on a single digits. At the moment now, the current LPR rating is about 14%, meaning that CBN is even borrowing the banks at 14% interest rates. So if CBN is giving out to the banks at 14% interest rates, and the banks are also going to make their profit out of it, it means that it's going to go higher, which is already in double digits. So it's the duty of government to say, yes, we have recognized that there are some sectors that cannot survive with double-digit interest rates. We must provide them with single-digit interest rates. And this is a policy for that. Banks, you must provide them with a single-digit interest rate. But we are also going to give to you loans at single-digit interest rates.
All right, so do you think this is the inability of the commercial banks to provide this kind of loans? Do you think that has led to what we have now, the loan sharks that are now giving people difficult times, the Bomuli Lanta, the Lapo, all these loan sharks that are now everywhere? Do you think that is the reason?
That is the reason. The pathfinder in funding in loans is the commercial banks. So they take the lead. So if the commercial banks cannot give out at single digits, you will not expect all these smaller financial institutions or those that hide under the face of financial institutions to come and give out single digit interest rates. It's not possible. Like I did say the other time, the banks themselves are having the mandates, a policy statement from CBN to borrow at double digits. So even if they choose to do a single digit, that will be against the policy of government, and they can get legal actions for that. They can also be chastised by CBN for doing that, but by doing against the policy. So the policy has to start from CBN, stating that certain sector should be considered for single-digit interest rate loans before the banks can do so. And if the commercial banks who are at the forefront are not doing that, you don't expect the microfinance banks, you don't expect the online lending platforms to also come and do single digits. And that's the problem. And I think by extension, the microfinance bank, and particularly these social online loan applications, are catching in on the lacuna that is being created by the CBN and by extension the frontline commercial banks. So much so that we are having rates as high as 4%, 5%, 6%, even 10% interest rate per month on loan. That is suicidal to business. And nobody is really talking about it or doing anything about it. And it's a sad situation.
Right, so these loan sharks have been harassing and insulting customers who default based on these kind of conditions that you just talked about. And some even send messages to people on their contact list. But of course, they have to recover their funds. But how do you think this can be regulated? Or what can you share a little experience on this issue of insulting and harassing people today? Do you know people who have been victims? Can you share experience with us on that?
I have hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints on my table of our members who have at one time or the other borrowed loan from these online lending platforms. And for one reason or the other, the loan goes bad and threat messages, abuses, false and negative information are being sent out to their contact lists. This is very, very bad. It's unfortunate that this is happening in this country. Because you have borrowed money to someone does not give you the liberty to contact the third party. There's a privacy policy in this country, and the privacy policy does not give you the access to contact the third party because the third party is not a guarantor to that loan. But these lenders goes as far as sending text messages not only to the borrower but even to third parties, which is not right. I can remember recently that one of these lending platforms was taken to court, and they caught, it's called Solo Loan. They caught, granted a judgment against them, and were fined 10 million naira. But surprisingly, even when they refused to pay the 10 million naira, they still continue with this dastardly act by sending information till today to third parties. This is very, very, very wrong. Unfortunately, to our people, their level of intelligence and education is low when they are applying for this loan because of sometimes the pressure on them. They don't take time to look at the terms and conditions. They just agree on some privacy issues that shouldn't have been released to these lenders. And these lenders catching on it and begin to send threat messages, begin to send lies, begin to send abuses, not only to them, but even to third parties. I've seen some people developing sicknesses and even deaths because of this harassment. I've seen families that have been torn apart, wives and husbands separating because of things like this. I had a case even yesterday of a woman that has packed away from her husband's house because the husband used her details to get the loan. And when the barrages of threats are coming, it's now coming to the woman and to the contacts of the woman. Unfortunately for the woman is running a catering business. So all her contacts also were being sent these fraudster messages. So she's now losing her clients, her customers, because everybody is now seeing her as a fraud. Should the recovering fund get to that level? It shouldn't. And the office in charge is the National Information Technology Development Agency. Yes, it's a National Information Technology Development Agency. They're the one in charge of making sure that things like this don't go and affect Nigerians. We have written letters to them, and NITDA, we have written letters to them. I'm also sure that many members of the public have also written letters to NITDA complaining bitterly, reporting the bad activities of these online lenders and how they go about harassing people. At times, some of these microfinance banks will even take you as far as locking you in their toilets, taking you to the streets to go and hawk and put them placards on you that you are a debtor. It's too bad. I also think that government tools should also do some sensitization in this regard. They need to inform the public about their privacy rights and how they can protect the privacy rights. Because Nigerians are not really aware of the privacy rights. Many of us are not aware of our privacy rights. So we toy with it and we allow these at times call them scammers, to make use of it to the betterment of themselves.
Yes, you've mentioned a few things that the government should do to protect the rights of customers. Okay, in that situation, how can we protect the rights of the loan sharks in this case? How can they recover their loans?
Well, just like it is done in all other climes and even with commercial banks here, we have one wonderful policy that CBN enacted about 12 months or so ago. Is called Global Standing Instruction, that is GSI. The Global Standing Instruction gives the lender the privilege to be able to get your fund from any existing bank that the lender has an account with. Meaning that if I borrow money from you and I refuse to pay you and I have some money domiciled with maybe Zenith Bank or Access Bank or wherever bank it is in Nigeria, I have the right to go and get my money from any of these accounts without necessarily going to harass me in the public. This is one wonderful thing that the banks have been using, the commercial bank has been using for now, and it is working. Every month, there's a lot of recovery being done with the GSI policy. And these lenders too can do same. But unfortunately, they are not ready to do that because many of the activities are very, very shady. You discover that most of them don't even have address on their platform, website platforms. And even if they do have address, those addresses are not real. If you visit them, you will discover that they're not there. Many of them also have phone numbers on their websites. Those phone numbers do not go. If you call the number from today till tomorrow, it will not go. And when it is time for you to pay, you will discover that their house will be down at times, that you cannot even pay because they intentionally do not want you to pay, so that other hidden charges that they have imputed into their system will be added to your money. And that's why you see somebody borrowing as little as 10,500, and before you know it, they will tell them the loan has gone up to as much as 70,000 naira within the space of 3 months. Who does that? So they need to make use of the policy guiding the commercial banks if they also want to operate in the financial space. That's the best way to go about it. Another thing is that it is almost impossible for you to tell somebody to come and borrow money without providing guarantors. The commercial banks will tell you to bring guarantors, but this online app does not have that space for guarantor. So it does not recognize guarantors. So when a loan goes back, who do you really want to go to? So when you don't have anybody to go to, it means that there's a tendency for the lender to defraud. This time around, you now decide on your own to infringe on their privacy and now going through their contacts to be contacting the third parties, which is not right. So they should be able to get guarantors that can guarantee the loan. This kind of debt, the lenders do not have collateral rights, but they can always provide guarantors such that when the loan goes back, there's someone or somebody to go to and say, yes, Mr. A borrowed money from us, he has defaulted, and he said if he has defaulted, to come and meet you and you. And that helps solve the problem.
Okay, thank you. Also, I know there's this practice, and you mentioned it now, that the CBN still borrows commercial banks money at a certain percentage. I think you mentioned 14%.
Yes.
Do you think that contributes to the laziness that we see among these commercial banks? Because if I can get 14% from CBN, I probably won't need to be chasing business people or startup guys around to borrow money so I can develop the economy and all of that.
I'm not saying they borrow CBN. I'm saying that they borrow money from CBN. CBN borrows their money.
And
CBN
at a
borrows
certain percentage.
At 14%.
That's what I'm saying.
So if the bank is getting a loan from CBN at 14%, and they also want to give out that loan to their customers, they would also have their own profits. They're also in business. And that's why you see the interest rate going to as high as 18% to borrowers, 20% or more, as the case may be.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I see.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay. The Nigerian environment is really harsh.
Very.
And for businesses, and when you look at the rate at which people are able to pay back loans, we realize that it's a bit tough. So what are the factors out there? You are the chairman of the Association of Businesses and all of that. Can you tell us some of the factors out there that make it so difficult for people to pay back loans?
Okay, one of it is what we have just mentioned, the harsh economic environment. The economic environment is so harsh this time. Inflation is at the highest peak. Never in the history of Nigeria have we had inflation as high as about 16.8%. That's the highest we have ever experienced. Meaning that if I have money to buy how do I quantify, how do I illustrate it? If I have money to buy a product worth 5,000 naira about a year ago, this time that product will be going to as much as 7,000 or 8,000 naira now. And my income is not increasing in commensurate with the inflation. My income remains more or less the same. Meaning, and then for those who are also earning salaries, their salaries has not been increased, but the inflation is getting higher and higher. So the purchasing power of the public has been reduced. And when the purchasing power of the public is reduced, it means the income or profits of an average businessman will also become reduced. So if I borrow money from a commercial bank or from any other financial institution for that matter, I may not be able to pay because my profit has become eroded due to inflation. So that's one of the reasons why many businesses are defaulting this time. They are not even making profits, not to talk of being able to repay loans. Another thing is that many of the business owners are not even on top of their game. They don't really know or cannot really assess how much profit they have at a particular point in time. If I know that the profit in my business is on the average 16% per month, or sorry, per year, 16% per year, why will I go to borrow a loan of 25% per year? So if I have borrowed a loan of interest rate of 25% per year and my profit is 16% per year, there's no way I can pay back that loan because my income is not in commensurate with what the interest that I'm supposed to pay on the loan that I have also borrowed. Another thing is that some of us, unfortunately, having a very nonchalant attitude towards repayment of loans. We have very bad attitude to repayment of loans. So even if the indices are right, some people have made up their mind that whatever loan they get, they see it as a national cake and they don't want to pay back. But we have very less percentage of people in that category. So the cost of running business is another big issue here. Over here in Nigeria now, we discovered that a businessman provides almost everything he needs, from electricity to transportation to road to almost everything, even water. He has to provide for himself. And when you have to provide all of these things for yourself, and the cost of providing it is also increasing. Every day, electricity tariff is going up, taxes is going up, it's eating deep into your profit. It becomes difficult for you to be able to pay back loans. And that's why you see even some businesses, particularly small businesses, closing shop now or reducing staff or reducing their capacity because they cannot continue to operate the way they used to do because of the so many challenges facing businesses at this time.
I would like to know, we often say that small-scale businesses are the backbone of any economy. Now, with all the things you have mentioned now, it seems like it looks so bleak. It makes the situation look so bleak for Nigeria. Does it mean Nigeria is doomed if we can't get all of these things right? Because that means if we can't get all these things right, that means we can't build, we can't have small-scale businesses that can really grow the economy for us. Does it mean the economy is doomed if we can't get all of these things right to make the environment seem more okay for businesses to thrive?
Yes, the economy is highly challenged. Some of us have spoken to government that they should see it as a case of emergency in the business sector, the small business sector. Because all over the world, it is the small businesses, the MSMEs, that grows the economy. They are the backbone of every economy. If any economy must grow, you have to grow the MSME sector. And many governments are proactive about it, and that's why they are performing well, especially the Asian countries. In Nigeria today, it is still on record that 96% of the jobs are created by SMEs, small and medium enterprises. create 96% of the job, meaning that every other job, that is the big players like Dangote, like Unilever, and government itself, is only creating 4%. So if anything happens to those creating 96%, the country is definitely doomed and challenged. And there's every reason for government to begin to pay more than the usual attention on the small business sector this time. If they don't want to experience more than what we're already experiencing now, you discover that because there's no longer job, because the small business owners that are expected to be creating job are not being able to do it to the maximum, optimally, and that's why we have the likes of Yahoo in the system. That's why we have the likes of banditry, ritual killing, and many more vices in the system. Because the small business sector, which is supposed to provide jobs, the small business environment, which is supposed to encourage other business owners to come and join, is not conducive and inviting. It's not friendly. And before long, you will discover that more vices will begin to come up beyond the capacity of government, if nothing at the immediate is done to arrest it.
Lastly, for me, sir, you mentioned earlier that many businesses are folded up because of the harsh economic condition. As an association, do you have maybe data? Do you have an idea of the number of businesses that have folded up after being challenged, maybe in the last 1 year, in the last 2 years? Can you give us an estimate of that?
Judging from what is happening at our end in our own association, we have lost 26% of our members because they have stopped business. 26% of our population has been lost. Small business owners have been lost in our association because they have stopped business. Not because they wish to stop, but because they just could not continue. Yeah, when you don't have inflow of cash again, you cannot pay your bills. You have no other choice than to fold up. In other countries, you may go bankrupt, but over here, you also have to close shop. And that's what is happening now. And the trend will continue if nothing is done about it. It's becoming very, very difficult to access forex for small business owners. Very, very difficult to access forex for us. It's very, very difficult to access loan, like we're just talking about now. It's very, very difficult for us to access even government incentives. It's very difficult for us to access it. And when all of these things are not accessible, there's nothing that will happen than closing shops. You would wonder why you have not been seeing small business owners migrating to big businesses. Because over time, you will discover that you have not heard of a small business coming up and becoming the likes of Dangote of this one for the past 10, 15 years. It shows to you that the small businesses are not growing. If they are growing, there should have been new names that you have been hearing, who started very small sometimes in the past and now are big. The few names you can hear are only in the information technology area, IT, because most of the IT are not just based in the economic space of Nigeria. It's a worldwide team. But for the real sector, those who are in the real sector, they are not growing. And that's why you don't have bigger companies coming up from small to big this time.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. But when you said 26%, what does that figure translate to in numbers?
Sorry to cut in. And within which space? Is it in the last 1 year? Is it the last 2 years?
The last 1 year, 2 years?
Well, we have a report. We call it MSME report that is being conducted by SBDAN from time to time. MSME is micro, small, and medium enterprise. That's MSME. It's being conducted by SMEDAN. SMEDAN is Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria. So it is that agency that is in charge of all activities of small businesses. So they just released a report. And they used to release this report at times every 4 or 5 years. And the last report that was released states that 96% of jobs that we have in Nigeria today are being created by people in the SME sector, that is the small, medium enterprise sector. And if you actually look at it, you agree with me yourself. In your street, you see somebody owning a shop, employing 1 or 2 persons, another person being an artisan, employing 1 or 2 persons, another person creating a small factory, maybe a pure water factory, employing 10, 15 persons here and there. We have pockets of it here and there. If we look at it together collectively, it's a huge number. And that's why they're able to come up with that report that 96% of jobs in Nigeria today are being created by people in the MSME sector. After this interview, if you don't mind, I can send to you the PDF copy, the file copy of that report.
Okay, thank you. We're even asking about the 26% that you mentioned that's folded up. We want to know, like, in the last 1 year or in the last 2 years.
Okay, that's between the advent of COVID and now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what number
between
would
the
that
COVID period and now?
How many people will form that 26%?
In our association, that's about 3,000 businesses.
Okay.
That's about 3,000 businesses in our association.
Okay.
I was going to ask if what the association does to help people. So if these 3,000 people, what could they have done better? What could the association have done to help salvage the business, and what the association is actually doing to help others not fold up?
We are doing a lot. And if not for the fact that we are doing all in our capacity, maybe the volume of record will have been higher than what we have just mentioned. One of the things we do this time is to continually intermediate between the business owners and the financial lenders to reduce their interest rates. Even if it is not going to come to single-digit interest rates, to get it reduced from the conventional rates you get in the bank. If you walk a loan to the bank for request for a loan and come into the association to help you get the loan. So I've been able to get certain rebates, not just in interest rates, but also in conditions. We have a lot of stringent conditions that the bank will offer. But I've been able to water many of these conditions down so that small businesses can be able to access it. We have also been able to interface with governments so that many of the palliatives and the funding intervention programs of government can water down to our members. We have discovered over time that many of these intervention gets to political business owners and not the real business owners. So for this reason, we are now interfacing with government so that this intervention, many of them are single digit for the federal government through CBN, gets to our members, and that will help them to be able to revive their businesses. We're also working with a lot of international organizations and quite about 2 other local organizations to raise grants for business owners. Some of them, even if it is a single-digit interest loan, with the way their business is now, they cannot repay. What they need is a grant. So we are working with some local organizations and even some international organizations to get grants. It's a happy thing to inform you that even this month of February, Lagos State government through LSETF will be disbursing some grants to some of our members in our association to help them cushion the effects of this harsh economic condition. We also make sure that we help them to reduce their tax rates. There are so many taxes, multiple taxes here and there that is imposed on small businesses. The association helps to interface with tax offices and agencies so that some of them are waived, some of them are reduced to the barest minimum to help keep our businesses afloat. We are also making sure that fund and fees charged by agencies, other agencies, like NAFDAC, like Standard Organization of Nigeria, like Customs and this and that, are reduced for our members. If some of these funds are reduced, they may not actually need loan to keep up with their business. They'll be able to use that reduced fund to also run and reactivate their businesses. That is also one thing we are doing. And we also know that the business and the climate is changing from time to time. For that reason, we continue to organize different training and symposias to be able to educate them, inform them, and upgrade them to today's happenings and today's learnings so that they can upscale and be able to perform optimally. We're also increasing our members' activity in the social space. We have to understand that if you must operate maximally this time, you just must be in the social space. And many of us are still doing our business in the local form, the physical way of doing it. We have been able to help them to see how they can embrace the social platform, the internet, and then move their business from offline to online so that they can have more presence, more visibility, and be able to get more patronage for their business. We are also having a linkage with all agencies of government that relate to business, so that when there are programs, there are opportunities from government, they can easily inform us and our members can participate. It will interest you to also note that last year alone, we were able to take our members to 4 different countries outside Nigeria to go and exhibit their products, because the world is becoming a global village. You just cannot say you want to stay in Nigeria alone to sell your products. Maybe your Nigerian market is even oversaturated. There's a market out there that needs a product or services. We are creating that linkage to be able to take them out of the country to exhibit. So as much as they are also going for international exhibition, there are so many local exhibitions that we're also exposing them to be able to sell their products. But also talking to government to work on some of these policies. One critical policy is that government must also buy made in Nigerian products, and it should not be a lip service. It should be as much as 30-40% of their purchases. So if government is making any purchase, it must have at least 30-40% of local content. And that means that it will increase patronage of small businesses in Nigeria. So we're working on that, and we're getting some positive results in some of the states, particularly Lagos and Ogun State. They are already giving us a very good nod to be able to bring our products and services to the corridor of government, and government to patronize us and buy from us. And of course, government is one of the biggest spender anytime, any day, when it comes to purchases and contracts. We are also helping our members to see the need to network. It has come beyond the point whereby you must do your business all alone from beginning to the end. You have to network this time and outsource some of the things you do. So if I am producing pure water, for example, I use pure water or sachet water because one of the popular business. It's necessary that I have to produce and sell. I can outsource to a marketing company to help me sell, while I concentrate on the production aspect and leave the marketing to someone, to another company to do it for me. It could also be that I am operating a sachet water, another person is operating a bottled water factory. We can match together and become one company and reduce cost of employing different people, using different machines, using different offices, paying different taxes and the rest of it. These are some of the many things that we are doing in the association to help our members be able to have their head afloat the water, and at the same time continue to strive until the economic situation improves in the country. Let me also use this opportunity to also tell you that we have partnership with some of the international organizations, particularly in the US, that are actively working towards empowering our members to be able to succeed in their business. This month we are in Germany, for example, is going to train some of our members to have better technology of how to do their business. What they are doing at the moment, the existing businesses, they are giving them better technology of how to do it. And the interesting thing is that after the technology, they're also going to give them some equipment, some funding to be able to expand what they're already doing. And that will also go a long way to help our members who are going to be beneficiaries of that program grow from what they are now to the next level.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Agbero, do you have any other?
No, not at all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Egbeshola.
Thank you too, and thank you for the opportunity.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.